guys. Well, we're back another week and we're working on my latest project. I don't even know what to call it. It was a 95 Chevy C3500HD. Now it's going to be very few pieces, a rear end and a little bit of frame of that 95. Maybe a front axle and springs, maybe. Gonna have the rest of a frame from a 98, cab from a 93 half-ton, engine from a 94 F700. So yeah, I don't really know what to call this, at least in terms of a model year. But hey, the world is what you make of it, right? All right, there it is. So, guys, I gotta tell you, I gotta be honest with you. I'm a cheapskate, big time. And I got this for 150 bucks. So, you know, about what it's worth in its weight and scrap. So this is a, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what brand it is. It's got New Way bags. Looks like it is a New Way. I'll have to look it up. But I assume this is probably a 13,000 pound air ride lift axle. So another Facebook marketplace. She got wedge brakes on her. That part doesn't matter, because we are bearings are free and everything. She spins. Came with the wheels and tires too, little 15-inch Dayton's. But the reason I picked this up is the idea in my head. This is upside down, by the way. I hope you realize that. You know, the frame mount points are rotted. They're just frame plates that go onto a truck frame. But the reason I picked it up is what I'm envisioning, because this uses like a round axle catch. Now this will involve some fabrication for sure, but I have visions that I can. What we're gonna do right now today first is we're gonna get this axle out of here, get this lift axle out. I don't know. We actually might have to cut the mount plates away first. This is going to get interesting one way or the other. But my designs are, we get the axle out of here, we get the frame plates out, so all I have is the actual, the trailing arm mounts here. Just this portion that I have remaining to, wow, that was some ice falling off the roof, to bolt to my frame rails. And then bag mounts, which we may or may not just make new ones, but we'll see. And I've got air ride, you know, nice trailing arm, heavy duty. You know, I've looked into building my own. You can get some quote unquote heavy duty 4-link kits. I just don't think they're strong enough. The dedicated air ride kits are just so much money. So the option came then to use a heavy truck style setup, you know, and I've been looking around. You can find some trucks here and there, some single axles that have air ride. I've looked at cutoffs, even tandem cutoffs. Thought I had one for cheap, but they just go for a little more than what I want to pay. And this was cheap, and I like screwing around with stuff. So yeah, fun stuff. The other thing that'll have to happen is obviously this would be a spring up air down setup. So those big coil springs right there are, you know, the cages are part of the mount here, and then they bolt in essentially there, and those springs, they pull. What they end up doing is pulling the trailing arm back up towards the frame, and then only the air pressure in the bag is what pushes the axle down towards the ground. So we don't want spring up. That would require too much air pressure in the bags. You know, obviously we could put pressure to it and cause it to happen, but it's going to be a really stiff ride. Maybe. I mean, if this is in fact a 13,000 pound axle, that's you know, these trucks that the 3500 HDs are 10,000 pound rated rear axles. So we're close, but when it's light and empty, I want to regulate bag pressure with just with a leveling valve like normal. And from my experience with my L9000, that means there might only be, you know, on a light truck, there might only be, you know, 15 pounds of air in it when it's empty. So, and 15 pounds of air is never going to overcome those springs. So the other thing that's got to happen is we've got to get rid of all that. So I envision we get this off, we release the pressure, and we just torch cut those portions, those cages out. Everything comes out with it. Bada bang, bada boom. Those go away too. So I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to start disassembling shit and, you know, see what we can make happen, huh? Because I just love giving myself challenges, apparently. All right, let's get after it. All right, so you guys just watched all that and it's all sped up like. And you're probably saying, what in the hell is this idiot doing? That's the old frame, right? Well, it is. It is. And I might change my mind again, but I don't know. All right, guys, so I've done a little prep work here. I went through, like I said, and I actually torched off the cross members. The rear two, they were unusable, so no problem there. And then I torched off the 3 bolts that were generally in the way right here between the frame plate and the main frame on both sides. So what I've got now is a clear flat space, and then I marked my cut. This I picked up, 2-3 weeks ago now, and I literally have not had a chance to use it. And it's not an ideal use right here, but I think it's gonna work. And it's gonna prevent me from having to cut it and then cut it again before I go to weld. And by separating these, making this cut here, and then going back and doing the other side, it will let me put these frame rails up on some sawhorses and torch them and work them and get them cleaned up off the ground a little bit rather than trying to manhandle this around. So with that being said, I'm going to give this thing a try and see what it does. I don't know, but I'm excited to have it. It was a lot of money, but I think it's going to be a cool tool when the time comes to use it. You know, you can't use it every day, but when you need to, you need to, and it's a lot better than using cutoff wheels or torches. If I had a plasma cutter, you know, that's on my list, but I don't have it yet, and that would help, but I don't. So I've got torches and cutoff wheels, and now this. So just another tool in the arsenal. So let's see how it does. Wow. That is awesome. So I'm going to finish the cut with a cutoff wheel on the grinder. I've got probably just under an inch, or almost exactly an inch left. I could finagle this in there, but it would be tough, but that's unbelievable, guys. Really, really is. So this thing, short of the rust, should be free. Yep. I wish the rest of the frame was that clean. That's too bad. All right, cool. Well, let's get that cut free, and then I'm gonna get that side done, and we'll get on with it. All right, well, did I mention it's a beautiful day? It's about 40 degrees, maybe a hair warmer even. So I turned the furnace off, opened the door, let some sunlight in. That heat from that sun feels great coming in out of the south. Or southwest, and yeah, plus we were making a lot of smoke, so good Lord, that was a lot of work. But check out what we got. We have 2 perfectly cut to length, perfectly square. Thanks to that saw is bad to the bone. I mean, I cannot express to you how easily it cuts. I mean, it might not be quite a hot knife through butter, but it's close, boys. That thing is amazing. That's one of the coolest tools I've ever bought. You can see I painstakingly used the old manual needle scaler. And by manual needle scaler, I mean a hammer. Because now it's ready to needle scale, but it wasn't at first. So, but we got all the crust off. Every rivet torched and cut and chiseled and air hammered and you name it. But the only thing I think that might be left is there's a couple studs still. There's one right there from fuel line and wire brackets. We still got to just take the grinder to those. But otherwise, everything's off. There's a pile of spring hangers and bump stops and you name it. That's all going to scrap. That's all junk. I'm just going to get some mild carbon steel C-channel, I think, if I can find the right profile height. And we'll make our liner out of that. I'm debating, we'll see what the price per foot is, whether I want to, you know, obviously I'm going to line in probably 3 feet to the old frame, to the one that's sitting across the street over there. And then the question is, will I just go the whole way back, which I'm debating on doing because of the stress that that hydraulic dove is going to put on things. And, you know, the suspension's right here. There's going to be a lot of torsional force there. So if it's not too crazy, I might just line the whole thing. And then it'll make life a little easier. All right, guys, so I'm sitting here perusing this scene about me, and I was going to split this into two videos for you. And you know what? I think I'm going to condense, and when I edit, I think I'm just going to edit out some of the nonsensical me yapping. And we're gonna jump right in and make this be our frame stretch video, because as you can see, you know, it's a week or so or more, whatever it is, later, and I've got the new frame in the shop here, and if you look close, you'll see there's no suspension. We've got a bare frame. So what I've done off camera, because you already saw me kind of do it once, is we stripped the suspension and the hangers and the bump stops, and it had some old welded on brackets for, I believe there was an underbody box on each side right here, and there was, I think, probably some running boards on each side here, so you can see where I've ground down, got rid of the welds, cut all that off. It was rust jacking behind it. But we've got every rivet punched out, bolt, and you name it. This frame obviously was a lot easier to work with. It was up in the air. I could get down and around it without hefting stuff around, and, you know, it wasn't nearly as rusty a mess. That's why we bought it, right? So, next step. You see what we got here? This is my liner. And again, I might have already said this. I'm not sure if I'll edit it out. I know this is hot rolled steel. I get it. It's different than truck frame. You know, guys, you can save your breath telling me it's wrong, telling me it's going to fail, the world is going to end, and, you know, DOT is going to lock me up for the rest of my life. It's going to work fine. It's my truck. I'm going to build it the way I can build it with the tools I've got at hand. So just relax, save your breath. This is not a how-to video. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not telling you how to weld a frame. I'm not telling you how to stretch a frame. I'm not telling you how to liner a frame. I'm doing it my way. So let's just live and let live, right? Because things like this just make for confrontation on the old internet. So let's just skip that part. But you can see I've got 9-foot liner. There's the other one over there. Picked those up today. I've got these that you saw me clean up and get ready. And I've prepped this frame. There was there's a rivet I haven't popped all the way out yet. But somebody had gob welded something, probably the dump hinges or something. I assume this was a dump truck, so it was a short chassis, but somebody gob boogered it all up. You know, you can see this is what I cut off here a few minutes ago. This is what was on there. I don't want to try to cut all that off, and it's just going to be a mucked up mess. I can live without 4 inches of frame. So I did a clean cut with the old handy dandy Milwaukee saw, and we're nice and square and cut just to match up to those nice square cuts. So really, I'm ready to bevel this out on both sides with the brought the big guns out. We got the big DeWalt grinder. Makes quick work of stuff like that, but we're gonna bevel that out. And you can see I got a stack of cribbing. We'll get this cribbed up, get some string lines out, take some cross measurements, and we're gonna get this girl welded. I've already got, for another project I was working on this week, I've already got some flux core wire in the welder and the gas unhooked, so we're ready to do this. I want to get it welded on, because then I want to needle scale and run chassis saver on the inside of those, you know, my existing frame rails, my outer rails, and primer and paint I guess it would be the outside of the liners, and that way we're all painted, coated on the inside. Everything is not going to be accessible anymore. Then I can line it and start mucking away with with cross members and whatnot. The other thing I got, because it's really, really necessary for a project like this, and again, you can yell at me, I try to buy really good tools, but sometimes some things I have to buy cheap. So yes, this is potentially the cheapest mag drill on Amazon. We'll see how it does, you know, for 300 some odd bucks, you know, it came with, I mean, shoot, you can't hardly buy the annular bits for what I paid for the whole shooting match. So, you know, if it gets me through this project, it's a win. But, you know, what I picked up was, I've got, I think there's 20 of these 5/8 grade 8s. That's for my air ride setup. And then I've got 40 half-inch grade 8 bolts and nuts, and we're gonna have 20, give or take, on each side. And you know, we're gonna widen out some of the existing holes. We're gonna drill some new ones, but we're gonna use that to attach our liner, and yeah, we'll be in business. So let's get after it. I'm gonna get this thing beveled. Let's weld the damn frame already. Okay, well, again, I skipped the boring stuff. I skipped the beveling. That's not very exciting. I had previously gotten this as close to level as I could really get it reasonably without going to a whole lot of shimming. And it actually worked out perfect that it was 3 6x6s, a 4x4, and just you know, a smidge over a quarter, 5/16 inch or so on top of that. I can use just some little bits of plate steel. So as you can see, we are in place. Now, obviously, you guys can figure out from the names on the side of the truck, I part own and run a landscape construction company, and so we live and die with string lines. Everything we do is string lines. And let's say we know we build a lot of retaining walls. When I set a string for a retaining wall, I prefer to set it, if it's straight anyway. Obviously, if it's a curvilinear wall, we do it a little different. But I prefer to set my strings just like I did here, and I set them for square as well as for height. Take my time and I do both. So that's what I have here. So I'm using this line. It's perfectly, well, I won't say it's perfectly level because I didn't set the level. It's perfectly level to this frame rail, and then I shimmed up accordingly on the new rails. I squeezed everything together even up here, and then I set it front to back where I want it. And, you know, and obviously having a square set of cuts goes a long ways. So this rail right here, this passenger side, is ready to weld. And I'll be honest with you, it's like 5/15. I can't decide if I want to tack this in or not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, well, I'm sure the super welders will tell me everything I did wrong. And you know what? That's okay. Yes, I welded a frame with a 135 amp, 110 volt MIG welder. Just prepped it good. Lined everything up. 3 good passes, inside and out. And yeah, that's what we do. That's how we do it. That side's ready to prep and put a liner into. So, I'm gonna head inside. It's time for a shower. That's good progress. We'll get the other side done. But there you go, folks. Poof. All right, we got a frame that's 6 feet longer, or whatever it is, 5'8" longer. I don't know, somewhere in there. You can see, as I alluded to, I did end up removing this cross member. How I remove these rivets, by the way, is, well, it depends. If I've got an old piece, like a hanger or something that I'm scrapping, and I don't care what happens, I torch the boys, because that's the fastest way. But if, here, I don't want to get into torching heads off there on the top of the frame, because it'll, no matter how good you are. See, like here, I did it, and it dug in just a little bit. I don't want that. That's really just on the surface. You can see that one's not in too bad. But I don't want to do that if I don't have to. So what I do is I heat them up cherry red, the heads, and then I take a sharp chisel, a wide, blade chisel on the air hammer, and drive them right off. And then you can send them through with a whatever you want to call it, a drift on an air hammer, and bada bang, bada boom, she's out. So this one will work out great. This is the one I just pulled out. There's what's left of a rivet. But I'll be able to cut it back, I think, and I don't know. We'll see what happens when I get it in. But if I got to do some trimming and some changing to make it work, we will. But I think it's better that we get a full. If I can't slide through these boys here, then we'll get 8'4.5" of liner. And if I can get through those, we'll actually be able to use the whole thing, and it'll be no trimming and be perfect. But if we got to cut, 7.5 inches off to meet the end of the frame here, we will. So next step, you can see I've got the needle scaler out, and I've got a needle scale from that point back on the inside of both of these. And my last step for tonight is I want to get chassis saver. I'm just going to brush it, get chassis saver onto. I picked up just some cheap chip brushes. I was going to brush it on, but we'll get some chassis saver on the inside, because that's direct to metal, direct over rust. It'll do a good job. It's not, if I've mentioned it before, I'm sure I have, but chassis saver is not, it's photodegradable. It's not UV resistant. So you really have to top coat it, but obviously in this case, it's going to be blocked by that liner. So it's perfect for this application. So we'll get the coat of that on, and then we'll flip both of the I-beams over on the sawhorses there and get a coat of prime and paint on the outside of those. And then shoop, tomorrow we can slide those in, get some holes drilled. And what we're going to do is I'm not going to drill anything past right about here, from there back on those rails, because I don't want to have bolts in the way of my suspension hangers. So yeah, we'll get after it, boys. Well, I'm officially filthy, but we got the rails all nice and needle scaled and wire wheeled. These two are my tools of choice: needle scaler and just a nice heavy cup wheel. Ooh, that thing's still hot. Obviously we went with the corded grinder this time. And I think I could fry an egg. I think I could fry 3 dozen eggs consecutively on my air compressor right now. But regardless, we got it all. That's why we don't like Michigan frames. That's why we don't like Michigan salt truck frames. How's that? This one, quick pass with the wire cup wheel, done, ready, no big deal. So that's why we want this. But anyway, that's ready for what you call it, chassis saver. Over here, we're ready. It will not. These rails will not fit inside of these little keeper deals, and you know, I feel like they come in handy. They're adding a little bit of rigidity. I'm just gonna leave them. We've cut out enough stuff. Let's leave it be. So I got about 7.5 inches on each one of these. I've marked out. I'll set you up and let you watch the sweet little saw one more time. We'll get those cut, and then we'll wipe those down, and I'll get primer shot on these. While the primer's drying, I'll jump over and chassis saver the rails, and one coat, and then probably come back over here and paint these, and then do coat number 2 on the rails, and then we're done for the night. Come morning, I got a turbocharger to put on the L9000, but and then injectors and overhead to run, but I might have some time to get out here and maybe get these liners in. We'll see. You'll know, because it either will be in the video or it won't. I don't know. All right, I'm getting after it. All right, well, hopefully this video works, or sound works. Got my mic on, which I don't use super often, even though I should, because it's probably better sound. But regardless, I'm going to be doing some moving around. So if you can see here, we've got 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of satin black on the outside of the rails, and then over here I ended up just doing 1 coat, but 1 thick coat of satin black chassis saver, and man, it's a nice coat on top of all that. Everything I needle scaled. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mark some holes. Some of these existing holes I'm going to use as my initials to sandwich this together. So I'm going to take a paint pen on the outside. I'm going to mark the ones I want to use. And I'm just going to take a drill with a 1/2 inch twist bit, because if they're not 1/2 inch, they're darn close. And I'm going to widen those out to 1/2 inch. And that way then we can clamp the rails, the liners in, and then we'll try out our cheapy mag drill. Okay, well, issue number one is that when it's in the horizontal position, you know, the cutting oil, you know, gravity works, so it doesn't flow uphill. So we're just gonna give it a little spritz. But magnet's tight. Let's see what happens. Nice clean hole. We're through. So I guess my initial review is I guess it works. So I'm gonna get that one bolted in, do a few more here so I get the clamps off, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, and I'll bring it back. Okay guys, well there we have it. So that driver's side frame rail, we've got the liner in and bolted in. And I've used all of the holes that I marked on that side. They all drilled in just fine. And yeah, we got them torqued down and we're lining it up. I ran out of time before I had to get going on other projects, so we'll finish this another day. And that's that. But overall, you know, we started off with an old frame and we started off with some axle stuff, and the vision is slowly starting to become a reality. We've now got ourselves, you know, a nice 6 foot longer frame to work with, and this truck is going to be in business. So at any rate, so as always, I know this video might have gotten a little long. I'm going to edit it as best as I can, but I'm also trying to show you, you know, what we're working with. So as always, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you get into this project as much as you got into some of these other ones that I've been working on in the last few years. And yeah, I hope you keep watching, and I hope you'll like and subscribe and enjoy what I'm trying to do here. So on that note, I hope you all have a good week. Take care, and we'll see you soon.